The perennially precocious youngster was the only person who suspected something was amiss with the socially respected sports coach and her bond with student, Will Driscoll, Lucas Hodgson Whale. As far as the rest of Weatherfield was concerned, she was an upstanding member of the community, an educational force of good who'd swept Daniel Osborne, Rob Mallard, off his feet. Sam saw through it all, though. When he discovered Will's sweater in Megan's possession, he became acutely aware of what was happening, and despite the protestations of both Megan and Will, he was completely undeterred. Sam saw the predatory pedophile beneath Megan's perfectly manicured veneer, and when she realized that Sam couldn't be sweet-talked or manipulated in the same way as the victims of her grooming and sexual abuse, she unleashed the full scope of her cruelty. Megan is a predator, through and through, and seemingly possesses an uncanny ability to spot the weakness in her victims, the chink in their armor that she can exploit and ruthlessly pick apart. She started her campaign by sabotaging his grades, something the studious Sam had always prized. By damaging his academic reputation, she effectively began to strip away a piece of his identity, driving him to use ADHD drugs to maximize his ability to study. Sam begged Will to see the reality of his relationship with Megan, but he was far too deep under her thrall to be reasoned with and, despite his guilt at how far she was willing to go to silence Sam, worked alongside her to continue sabotaging his efforts. When Sam planted a camera in her flat, Megan was almost amused at his effort to take her down. In a flex of power, she orchestrated a performance in which Will confessed his love for her while she kindly and courteously turned him down. Laying in wait for Sam to come back for the recording device, she relished in her own evil, spelling out exactly how she'd make the world believe he was a creepy, perverted voyeur for trying to film her. She made no bones about it. If he continued to push against her, she'd utterly annihilate him, and her twisted smirk let the audience know that not only would she follow through with her dark threat, she'd enjoy it. As Sam continued to take the ADHD medication, his body rebelled, and after a confrontation with Megan and Toya Battersby, Georgia Taylor, he collapsed. Perhaps panicked by just how far she'd driven him, Megan followed him to the hospital and threatened him further. Unfortunately for her, she'd made a grave mistake. She'd done so in sight of Leanne Battersby, Jane Danson, Sam's stepmom. Sam exposes Megan. Fighting Megan's words ringing in his ears that nobody would believe him and that exposing her would just intensify her torture of him, Sam spilled all to Leanne. Before long, the entire family was aware that Megan had been abusing Will. Will's dad, Ben, Aaron McCusker, and stepmom, Eva Price, Catherine Tilsley, reported Megan to the police, and his grandma Maggie, Pauline McLean, personally confronted her, leaving the family in tatters when Will remained under Megan's thrall and refused to cooperate. Leanne stuck to her promise to protect Sam, and Megan, like so many bullies, has lost her ability to torment him after he took back the power, but Sam's been left deeply scarred by his experience with her. Could Sam's hallucinations lead to murder? Recently, Sam's been experiencing hallucinations, both visual and auditory, with all of them presenting as threats to his own safety. His paranoia has reached extreme levels, particularly when Hope Stape, Isabella Flanagan, suggested that Daniel was still in cahoots with Megan and that he was being nice to Sam as part of a revenge scheme. He later confronted Will, though Will relayed to Eva and Maggie that he had no idea what Sam was talking about. Sam later imagined Will preparing to attack him, though when he looked closer, he saw nothing. Megan currently forms part of the street's impressive villain lineup, alongside Theo Silverton, James Cartwright, Jody Ramsey, Olivia Francis Brown, Carl Webster, Jonathan Howard, and Maggie Driscoll, Pauline McLean, one of which will lose their life in an upcoming whodunit. As Sam's mental health continues to deteriorate unbeknownst to his family, will his hallucinations drive him to extreme actions and drive him to end his tormentor once and for all? Could it be an accident, as a result of a vision? Or could the visions themselves lead him to take the twisted teacher's life? Through her vicious torture, has Megan created her own demise in poor Sam? The cobbles of Weatherfield are set to be shaken once again as a chilling new twist emerges in the ongoing murder storyline on Coronation Street, with fans left reeling over claims that Megan's unexpected killer has finally been revealed, and the truth may be darker than anyone anticipated. What began as a slow-burning drama filled with suspicion, secrets, and half-truths has now escalated into a full-scale whodunit, where nearly every familiar face has been under the microscope. But in a twist that nobody saw coming, attention has now turned to a figure previously considered irrelevant to the central mystery. And that's exactly what makes this development so explosive. A story built on secrets and suspicion. From the very beginning, Megan's presence in Weatherfield has carried an air of mystery. Whether she was introduced as a quiet observer, a troubled acquaintance, or someone with ties to multiple residents, one thing has remained consistent: nothing about her story has ever been straightforward. As the tension escalated, viewers were led down multiple paths. Suspicion shifted from one character to another, with each episode adding new layers of doubt. Hidden motives, unresolved grudges, and long-buried secrets have all played their part in building a narrative where trust has become almost impossible. The writers of Coronation Street have long been known for crafting complex murder mysteries, but this particular storyline has pushed the formula further than usual. Every clue seems deliberate, every conversation loaded with double meaning, and every character potentially hiding something crucial. The unexpected killer theory. Now, according to growing speculation within the storyline, Megan's killer may not be the obvious suspect audiences have been focusing on. Instead, attention has shifted toward an unexpected individual whose involvement has either been subtle or entirely overlooked. This theory suggests that the killer was not driven by a single moment of rage, but rather a carefully constructed chain of events. Small interactions, missed warnings, and seemingly innocent decisions may all have contributed to a fatal outcome. What makes this revelation so compelling is not just the identity of the alleged killer, but the motivation behind it. Rather than a straightforward act of violence, the storyline appears to be leaning toward emotional conflict, betrayal, and unintended consequences. Red herrings everywhere. One of the most striking elements of this murder plot has been the sheer number of red herrings scattered throughout the narrative. Almost every major character connected to Megan has been given moments of suspicion, from heated arguments to cryptic conversations that seem to hint at deeper involvement. But as viewers are now realizing, these clues may have been deliberately misleading. The real answer may have been hidden in plain sight, not in dramatic confrontations, but in quieter, more understated moments that were easy to overlook at the time. This approach has kept audiences constantly guessing, with social media flooded by theories, breakdowns, and frame-by-frame analyses of key episodes. Yet despite all the speculation, the truth remains tightly under wraps within the show itself. The emotional core of the mystery. Beyond the question of who did it, the storyline has also focused heavily on the emotional fallout surrounding Megan's death. Friends, acquaintances, and even those loosely connected to her have all been affected in different ways, with grief, guilt, and paranoia spreading through the community. If the unexpected killer theory proves true, it raises even more difficult emotional questions. Was the act intentional, or the result of a tragic misunderstanding? Could it have been prevented? And perhaps most importantly, how will those involved live with the truth once it is finally revealed? These are the kinds of moral dilemmas that have long defined Coronation Street at its best. It is not just about solving a mystery, but about exploring the human consequences behind every decision. A villain hidden in plain sight. The idea of a hidden killer is not new to soap opera storytelling, but this particular twist feels designed to challenge audience expectations. Instead of presenting a clear antagonist, the show appears to be constructing a scenario where ordinary behavior takes on a far more sinister meaning in hindsight. A glance, a hesitation, a lie told to protect someone else, all of these small moments may now be reinterpreted as pieces of a larger puzzle. And if the revelation is confirmed, it will force viewers to reconsider everything they thought they understood about Megan's final days. What happens next in Weatherfield? As the storyline moves toward its climax, one thing is certain: the truth about Megan's death is set to send shockwaves through Weatherfield. Relationships will be tested, loyalties will be broken, and at least one resident will be forced to confront the consequences of actions they may not have fully understood at the time. Whether the unexpected killer theory is confirmed or ultimately debunked, the impact of this storyline is already being felt. It has reignited interest in the classic murder mystery format and reminded audiences why Coronation Street continues to dominate British soap television after decades on air. In the end, the question is not just who killed Meghan, but how well anyone truly knew her at all. And in Weatherfield, the truth rarely stays buried for long. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Crown ST.